This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. As the federal government begins to implement some $1 trillion in Medicaid cuts called for in President Trump's budget bill, which gives massive tax breaks to the wealthy. We end today's show with a new investigative documentary that examines the moral dilemmas and profit motives surrounding assisted dying that members of the disabled community could face. It's called Life After, directed by acclaimed filmmaker Reed Davenport. As one reviewer put it, Davenport is uniquely positioned to tell the story. He himself has cerebral palsy. This is the trailer for Life After.
Elizabeth Bouvet is asking for help. Trapped in a useless body, she says she deserves the right to die quietly.
And what was your purpose in being admitted to Riverside General Hospital?
Ultimately, starve myself to death.
The more I researched, the more I began to think that Bouvet was still alive.
Requests for medical assistance in dying are increasing across the country. We're beginning to hear more stories about people feeling it's their only recourse from excruciating circumstances.
I didn't want to really end my life, but it really just came down to a matter of funding at that point.
The health system is basically going to tell you you should kill yourself because that's the cheapest option.
Many people are afraid of disability. They've never had to interact with it before. The decision makers are really ruining our chances of surviving.
I feel that this film will be dismissed as cynicism. But the death of disabled people has been justified for so long.
Doctors encouraged me to pull the plug.
This film is not about suicide. It's about the phenomenon that leaves disabled people desperate to find their place in the world that perpetually rejects them.
She's very quiet, she's intelligent, she's attractive, but so what?
I need to find her. There are too many unanswered questions.
That's the trailer for the new investigative documentary Life After, directed by Reed Davenport and produced by Colleen Cassingham with Multitude Films. They both appear in the film. I spoke to them on Monday. Congratulations on winning the U.S. Documentary Special Jury Award at Sundance, where the film premiered earlier this year. I wanted to start off by asking you about why you made this film and how it ties into this current moment where we're going to see something like, in the next few years, 17 million people losing their health insurance, with millions losing their Medicaid. Reed.
I read about Bouvet about 8 years ago. I was instantly drawn to her story because many disabled activists who identify as progressive also are assisted suicide. So I was very interested in that friction. And then when I figured out she could possibly be alive, that was when I knew that this was a film. Unfortunately, this film is growing in relevance day by day with the Medicaid cuts. Medicaid keeps disabled people alive but barely. If you are on government assistance, you are probably below the poverty line. So cutting this back further will only deepen abject poverty and drive disabled people to early graves.
And Colleen, if you can talk about your involvement with this film.
Sure. Reed brought this film to me and to my team at Multitude Films back in 2020 or 2021, and it was around the time that Canada had just expanded its assisted dying legislation made to include eligibility for disabled people on the basis of disability. And so, you know, I knew this was a film that we wanted to be involved with just because of the sort of personal political perspective expansion it had for me. You know, I personally thought I was for assisted suicide legislation. It seemed like to me it was a matter of personal choice and bodily autonomy, which I'm deeply committed to. And it was working on this film with Reed that really changed my perspective to understand that these questions are really about what kind of society we want to be and how we want to care for and uphold each other's dignity. And there's so many layers of ableism and systemic failure that influence the ways that assisted suicide legislation is able to be implemented that make it so dangerous for disabled people. So, you know, with the Medicaid cuts on the horizon, the reason I feel this film is so important right now is because people with disabilities already experience huge health disparities. And so when you introduce a policy like assisted suicide, it takes a group of people who are already incredibly marginalized by our system and gives the institutions and the people with power a profit motive for denying those people care. This
film is particularly relevant here in New York as Governor Hochul has a bill on her desk, which she has not yet signed. Can you explain its significance?
New York is said to be one of about 12 states that would allow assisted suicide for people who are terminally ill. However, we know that abuse happens. We know that disabled people who are not dying are able to use doctors to wiggle their way into this line, die prematurely. For example, people who have diabetes are technically terminal without insulin, so that can be used to allow someone with diabetes who is not dying to access assisted suicide legally.
I want to go to another clip from Life After. It's with Melissa, the wife of Michael Hixon, an Austin man who in 2017 suffered an anoxic brain injury that made him blind and damaged his spinal cord. The hospital that was treating him wanted to end life-saving measures when he needed to be treated for COVID at that Austin, Texas hospital.
Michael went into sudden cardiac arrest while he was driving me to work. As a result of that, he had an anoxic brain injury. He was blind and had a spinal cord injury that caused him to be quadriplegic. Several doctors kept saying to me, "It's, you know, we can just let him go. You know, if you want us to, we can." In fact, they encouraged it. My goal for him was to go to a place where they specialized in care for people with brain injuries and spinal cord injuries. That was never what they wanted. I was villainized for trying to get the care that Michael needed the whole time. I was always encouraged to let him go, to pull the plug, to not treat. It would just be easier.
Did you expect doctors to be discriminatory, or was this a shock for you?
I think as most people believe that doctors are healers, that they're there to help you get better. I never thought that a doctor would ever question life.
So that was Melissa Hixon being interviewed by Reed Davenport, the director of Life After. At the end of this interview, Reed, you hug Melissa. Talk about why you reached out to her.
And initially we reached out to her because Michael's story was so devastating. And it wasn't getting the attention that it needed. And we were asking Melissa to bear some very deep, pretty new wounds. So during the interview, I think it was just about trying to be a decent person, recognizing we were there to do something difficult and trying our best to ease the pain and make it to make it less hard.
I want to go to another clip from your film Life After, where you speak to a Canadian man named Michael Hixon, who has spinal muscular atrophy. He lost his mother, who is his primary caretaker, and is considered dying through Canada's MAID program. That's MAID, Medical Assistance in Dying.
When we heard Mom's diagnosis, I had basically three thoughts. My first thought was, OMG, Mom's going to die soon. My second thought was, OMG, I'm going to die shortly thereafter. And then I thought, OMG, how do I get my together? I didn't want to really end my life, but you know, it really just came down to a matter of funding at that point.
There's a facade of universal health care in this country that claims to take care of anyone who gets ill. But the truth is, we have these points of crisis in our healthcare system where people are falling through, not cracks, but massive openings in the system.
That's Ash Kelly, a Canadian journalist. And before that, Michael Hixon said he didn't really want to die, but since his mother was his main caretaker, Reed, in this story, what's surprising, as it's pointed out, is that Canada has national health care.
Yeah, I think as Americans, and especially if you're on the left, you look up to Canada as this more liberal country where everybody has health care, but their health care, even if it's nationalized, is extremely overburdened and it's on the verge of collapse. The wait lines are endless. It can take years to see a specialist or even a therapist. So health care is by no means a given in Canada.
That's Reed Davenport, director of the new investigative documentary Life After, and producer Colleen Cassingham with multiple films. The film has won major awards at Sundance. It's at Film Forum in New York through Thursday, and over the summer will be coming to many cities through one-night-only screenings with conversations with movement leaders and activists and thinkers. The cities include Philadelphia, Chicago, Austin, Miami, Atlanta, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Seattle, Portland, Des Moines, Iowa, and Middlebury, Vermont. There will also be virtual companion screenings as well, so the film will be accessible. You can check their website, lifeafterfilm.com, for locations and dates. And you can go to our website to see our 2022 interview with Reed about his first documentary, I Didn't See You There, in which he, as a disabled filmmaker, reflects on the portrayal of disability in media and popular culture. We have job openings. Go to democracynow.org. Democracy Now! Is produced with Mike Burke, Renee Feltz, Dina Guzder, Messiah Rhodes, Nermeen Sheikh, Maria Tarasena, Tammy Warrenoff, Charina Nadura, Sam Alkoff, Taymarie Astudio, John Hamilton, Ravi Karen, Hani Masood, and Safwat Nazal. Our executive director is Julie Crosby. Special thanks to Becca Staley, John Randolph, Paul Powell, Mike DeFilippo, Miguel Noguera, Hugh Grand, Dennis Moynihan, David Prude, Dennis McCorbett, Matt Ely, Anna Osbeck, Emily Anderson, Dante Torrieri, and Buffy St. Marie Hernandez. To see our Democracy Now! Video and audio podcasts, you can go to where you like to get your podcasts. We're also all over social media. Tell your friends about Democracy Now! We are corporate-free, people-powered. I'm Amy Goodman. Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the daily podcast, and so much more.